Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. Ruiz Ortiz is still riding high in the WBC rankings despite a recent loss to Deontay Wilder. The WBC rankings update of this month also includes Andy Ruiz Jr. He is back, the former unified champion, coming off his loss to Anthony Joshua, installed into the top 15. Also in the rankings, quite a bit of shuffle because of the inclusion of Ruiz and Ruiz Ortiz dropping down, but not dropping down much. So we'll get to that as well. But the top 3 or 4 names, not so much movement, but below that, it really is like shuffling cards. So starting at the top, we have Dillian Whyte, the #1 contender. He has held that spot since the end of 2017. As we know, he's now cleared his UCAD situation. What happens next, it's unclear. The WBC hasn't really made any comment or statement on that at the point this video was recorded. But you will remember he did win the WBC mandatory against Oscar Rivas in July, and also the WBC interim heavyweight title. So we'll see what the WBC does and whether those honours are restored, etc. But he would still be the second mandatory because in the period that UCAD was investigating, the WBC decided to name Tyson Fury as Deontay Wilder's mandatory for 2020. So it's a little bit messy and murky and maybe some water to flow under the bridge there. #2, Tyson Fury. He is going to be fighting Wilder in a rematch in February 2020. February the 22nd is the date that has been slated, but we shall see. Nothing is official as yet, but you'd imagine they'd want to announce something prior to Christmas so they can promote the event, right? #3 is Alexander Usyk. He's up 1 spot this month, had been at 4. He has the WBO mandatory, so I guess until the period he gets a shot in that division, he will remain somewhere high in these rankings. Probably unlikely that he is going to go the WBC route, given that he has the mandatory in the WBO sewn up. Oscar Rivas, he is up 1 spot as well this month, and that is to make way for Ruiz Ortiz, who is below him. We'll get to him in a second. But Rivas, coming off the loss to Whyte a month ago, he was installed at #5, and that followed the WBC convention, where Rivas and his promoter Yvonne Michel argued that specifically relating to the incident with Dillian Whyte, not so much the PED related stuff, but more the issue around the gloves, that he should be installed much higher up the rankings. They wanted him at #1. Ultimately, he became #5 and now #4. And as I mentioned, Ruiz Ortiz, who had a title shot with Deontay Wilder November 23rd, knocked out in the 7th round of that fight. He only drops the 2 places from #3 to #5 in this month's update. And I know some people will be thinking, hang on, he lost, so shouldn't he be dropping down a lot further? Well, it doesn't always happen in the WBC where someone loses and they go down a whole bunch. I mean, oftentimes, you will see in a lot of these sanctioning bodies, the losing challenger will drop maybe to 10th or somewhere between 10th and 15th, or at least closer to 10. But there is some precedence here. From 2018, Joseph Parker, he was the WBO champion. He lost to Anthony Joshua, and he was installed at #5 or #6. Definitely, it was quite high. But Ruiz Ortiz, similar sort of situation. He loses, just drops the 2 places. And I guess that begs the question, could he make another run at the WBC title if he can get into a couple of meaningful fights to get himself back in position? Because he's already relatively high here, and if he could get a couple of names on his record, maybe in 12 to 18 months he's banging on the door again. But in 12 to 18 months, obviously he'll be 41, 42 years old, and I know a lot of people think he is still operating at the highest level. So we'll have to see who he fights next, how he looks, and how long can this guy go, because obviously he's got the skills, but will the body betray him the older he gets? Arguably, he is certainly not in his prime anymore, but he is still a good fighter. Alexander Povetkin, on the back of his draw with Michael Hunter in Saudi Arabia, he remains at #6, one of the few guys that actually hasn't gone anywhere this month. So #7, Andy Ruiz Jr., former unified champion, straight into #7 after losing to Anthony Joshua. Remains to be seen what happens with Ruiz Jr. now, because obviously that loss and some of the excuses after it hasn't sat well with fans, and he said he will do everything in his power to become champion again, but at the moment I think with a lot of fans those words sound awfully hollow. But yeah, I'll do a video in the next sort of few days expanding on where I think Ruiz could go next, because I wouldn't like to think he'll do what he did after the Joseph Parker fight, which was have over a year off out of the ring. I don't think that's going to do him any good. Number 8, we have Adam Kovnatsky. Number 9, Joseph Parker. And I've said those two together simply for the fact that a few months ago, and for quite a few months, they were sort of hovering around number 5 and number 6. They had been in that position for quite some time, but they have been falling down. Parker, just the one fight in 2019, Alex Leopai, and Adam Kovnatsky, his most recent fight, that was against Chris Arreola, but they are slowly slipping down here in this top 15. Adam Kovnatsky is a guy in the PBC stable who's waiting for a title shot, and should Deontay Wilder beat Tyson Fury, I believe that will probably be Deontay Wilder's next opponent after Fury. We'll see. But those two dropping down. But Filip Hrgovic, he's up one spot this month. This follows his win over Eric Molina. He has a minor WBC title that he defended, 3rd round stoppage against Molina. Joe Joyce, he is actually down 2 places this month. He does have a fight scheduled with Marco Huck at the start of January. At 12, Michael Hunter, on the back of that draw with Alexander Povetkin, he's bumped up 2 places. Derek Chisora, and this is a funny old sort of situation. This month, he is down 3 places from last month. But last month, he was up 3 or 4 places from the month before. So he's up and down like a yo-yo at this point. Kubrat Pulev, who is also the IBF mandatory, he's at number 14, down a couple spots this month. He looks like he's shaping as Anthony Joshua's next likely opponent, probably somewhere between March and May. And at number 15, we have Arjit Kabayal, who drops 2 places this month. And just to note, Daniel Dubois, who had scraped into the WBC rankings last month, he is out of the 15, but he hasn't dropped far. He's at number 16 in the WBC's top 40. But for the purposes of sanctioning bodies, I only ever cover the top 15 just to be consistent across the board. But he hasn't dropped far. Daniel Dubois, probably after his win over Kyotaru Fujimoto, which is coming up later this month, the fight that is, and likely the win, he will probably come back in, probably replacing Kabayel next month, but we'll see. But Luis Ortiz, holding firm in the WBC rankings, holding on to 5th spot, just dropping 2 places since his loss to Wilder. And Andy Ruiz Jr., he's back, number 7 in the rankings. Drop a comment, loud and often, hit like, hit subscribe, follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.